Site-19. Site-19 is the largest Foundation facility in existence, which sounds prestigious until you're the one standing outside SCP-173's containment cell being told not to blink. Anyway, this place holds hundreds of safe and Euclid-class anomalies like the original statue that started the whole wiki, the plague doctor who cures you by killing you, and the shy guy who will absolutely not stay shy once he knows you've seen his face. And those are just the ones people talk about at orientation. The rest get explained on a need-to-know basis, usually right before something goes wrong. Because here's the thing about Site-19. Something is always going wrong. There's literally an incident report titled, How Site-19 Blew Up, because cascading containment failures nearly nuked the whole facility. Then there was the Halloween breach, where staff threw a party and multiple SCPs escaped mid-celebration. Oh, and don't forget about hashtag StormSite19, when internet trolls jokingly planned to raid the place. The Foundation panicked, mobilized task forces, and spent millions prepping for a siege. Guess what? Nobody showed up. Super embarrassing, right? The debrief probably took longer than the whole fake threat. Anyway, as a researcher here, your day involves mountains of paperwork, an anomaly in every direction, and the constant creeping suspicion that save class is the Foundation's way of saying, probably fine. Oh, and you have thousands of colleagues, some of whom are genuinely more insufferable than the SCPs. At least SCP-173 only kills you if you look away. But Karen over there will absolutely destroy your reputation while maintaining full eye contact. The good news? Not all of them make it through the month. So take that, Karen. Survival rate? 60%. Higher if you remember to blink on schedule. Site-17. Your day starts with a briefing, runs through 2 therapy sessions you weren't trained for, and ends with paperwork that asks you to rate an SCP's emotional stability on a scale of 1 to 10. You gave them a 4, and you gave yourself a 3. Let's just say, welcome to humanoid containment, because Site-17 is where the Foundation puts SCPs that walk, talk, reason, and occasionally guilt trip guards into giving them better TV privileges. Containing people is a totally different challenge from containing objects. I mean, you can't negotiate with a piece of rock, but a humanoid who's been awake for 300 years, that's a person who has very refined opinions about the food quality and is not shy about sharing them. Anyway, containment here runs on tiers. At the bottom, you've got SCPs under full lockdown, minimal interaction, supervised everything, and therapy through reinforced glass. Further up the chain, anomalies who consistently don't murder anyone start getting supervised walks and recreation time. At the top, you've got cooperative humanoids that assist research, help staff, and in some cases move semi-independently through the facility. And then there are the permanently sedated ones, which aren't discussed at lunch. The interesting part? Site-17 has one of the lowest casualty rates in the Foundation. When you treat sapient anomalies like patients rather than threats, they're less inclined to go bananas. You've got Biblical Cain himself, who walks around helping staff, despite killing every plant within 20 meters of him. The fix? Fake plants everywhere. Then there's this dude who calmly insists he's God. He regularly has guards abandoning their posts just to have a chat. So yeah, charisma beats workplace protocol apparently. Survival rate? 70%. Lower if you're responsible for the plants. Site-43. At Site-43, you work 1 kilometer below Lake Huron, which you mostly forget about, until you don't. Your days are research briefs, anomalous intake logs, and the particular kind of academic arguing that only happens when everyone has a PhD and nowhere else to be. It's almost normal. Then the calendar flips, and for exactly 1 day, the facility stops being your workplace and starts actively trying to end you. And it's the same date every year. You sort of mark it off in advance, but you still aren't ready when it happens. The site specializes in achromatic abatement, which is a very polished term for handling shit that anomalies produce. Ectoplasm, reality residue, dimensional runoff. You know, all the disgusting stuff nobody else wants to deal with. Site-43 filters, breaks down, and safely disposes of. It's the Foundation's sewage plant, essentially. It's crucial, deeply unglamorous, and right next to Nexus 94, an anomalous hotspot that keeps generating new weird phenomena every few weeks, because the universe apparently has a personal grudge against this specific stretch of Ontario. Anyway, containment here gets creative. For example, there's a mirror entity that follows staff home. You can't contain it properly, so they just track it. There's also a lake full of mutant big cats that have no business existing. Their solution? Monitoring stations and a no swimming sign. So, problem solved, I guess? Then there's September 8th. Every year, SCP-5243 triggers a time loop that replays a 2002 containment breach for 7 minutes. The waste facility explodes, and specific staff die in specific ways. And if the Foundation prevents even one of those deaths, reality restructures and everyone at the site dies permanently. So the protocol is to let it happen, exactly as before. Every single year, survival rate 65%, 0% on September 8th if your name's already on the list. Site 01. Site 01 is the Foundation's most secure facility, and the only one where the entire point is that nothing interesting ever happens there. No anomalies, no experiments, no SCPs. Just the 13 people who run the Foundation, the staff who protect them, and the very serious business of making decisions that affect whether reality keeps functioning properly. This is where the O5 Council meets. The overseers, the people at the absolute top of an organization that already has nearly no top. Their location is classified to the point where most Foundation personnel don't know which continent they're on. The running joke is that even the overseers occasionally forget where they parked, and honestly, it's probably not a joke. Security is quiet, but absolutely overwhelming. Hundreds of agents, multiple assistant directors, a surveillance network so thorough that you cannot sneeze without it generating a report. But it all makes sense because Site 01's purpose is singular. If every other site burns down, this one stays standing. It's the last failsafe, the backup plan for the backup plan for the backup plan. So if you're working here, you're essentially guarding the idea of the Foundation itself, which means your day is clean corridors, classified paperwork, and the perpetual background anxiety of knowing that whatever's going wrong at Site 19 right now, it's eventually going to produce a memo that lands on this desk. You don't see the chaos. You read about it in clinical language on a very secure document 3 days later. Survival rate, 95%. The only real threat is boredom and the O5 Council's meeting schedule. Site 666. Site 666 is publicly known as the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. You know, the pyramid. The one with the giant beam of light shooting from the top. That beam, it turns out, is the House Nicholas Theoplanar vacuum unit, a device that siphons energy from hell itself and stops Las Vegas from literally merging with the fourth circle of it. I mean, Vegas has always been a bit demonic. Turns out that's not a metaphor. Underneath Las Vegas is Undervegas, SCP-7666, an anomalous city in hell that mirrors Las Vegas, populated by over 1 million demons organized into 7 districts, each controlled by a pit boss representing one of the 7 deadly sins. Site 666 exists to monitor the whole thing, contain the overlap, and keep the 2 cities from colliding. Director Randall House kicked it all off in 1992 by winning a blackjack game against Pluto. Actual Pluto, the demon, which caused Hell's invasion to retreat and allowed construction to begin. Genuinely the most on-brand way to save Las Vegas. Anyway, the site runs on creative containment, meaning instead of locking anomalies away, they negotiate with them, employ some of them, and generally try to work with the demonic ecosystem rather than against it. MTF Kappa 12, called the High Rollers, handles field operations. In 1999, an employee accidentally summoned Baal, Prince of Undervegas, during a staff party. The site partially collapsed into hell. They sorted it out eventually. But there's now a policy about office parties. Anyway, your average day is shift reports, one negotiation that runs over, and at least one coworker who is technically a demon, but very professional about it. You get used to it, or you don't. And that's what the survival rate is about. Survival rate, 55%. Higher if you're good at cards. Area 14. Area 14 is in the Ruby Mountains of Nevada, built into Mount Abraxas, and it exists for one purpose: containing anomalies too large, too dangerous, or too hostile to go anywhere else. If another site looked at an anomaly and said, absolutely not, it ended up here. The security setup makes every other Foundation facility look casual. Area 14 has regiment strength personnel, heavy weapons, artillery, and air support. The resident task force is MTF Nu 7, a battalion strength force that only deploys when all site communication has been completely lost. That's basically the last resort behind the backup plan. So what's actually in here? Oh, just SCP-058, a heart-shaped entity covered in spikes and hooks that kills things with industrial efficiency. And then there's SCP-082, Fernand the Cannibal, who is enormous, semi-cooperative, and has opinions about the quality of his meals. And take SCP-165, a mass of insects that eats everything in its path. And SCP-939, a pack of Keter-class creatures that mimic human voices to lure prey. There's an actual on-site corral, a moo chute, they call it, for bringing cattle in to feed SCP-058 and SCP-165. The cattle come from a front company called Sweeney Cattle Pastures. They preferentially send the sick and injured ones, since these animals aren't for human consumption. They go to the things in the cells instead. As a researcher, your daily threat briefing isn't a formality. It's extremely specific and entirely personal. You learn which corridors to avoid at which hours, which cells have had a bad week, and exactly how long you have to get out of a wing if something goes wrong. Survival rate, 40%. Higher if you stay on the correct side of every locked door. Site 95. Site 95 is in Hobart, Tasmania, disguised as a conservation facility for endangered animals, which is a funny cover story, because what they're actually conserving inside is a collection of insects, fungi, and plants that have no business existing. So, if you like things that grow, crawl, or spread spores, you will have a very full schedule. The site started out as something confiscated from a wealthy family running demonic rituals. At first, it was small, just a testing facility. Then SCP-6220 arrived, and the whole operation scaled up fast into full biological containment and research. The entomology, mycology, and botany departments formed around it, and Site 95 started filling up with some of the most densely packed staff of any Foundation facility in the region. Here's what makes it unusual. It's known as both relaxed and chaotic simultaneously. There's a large on-site garden that doubles as a containment area and a hangout spot when nothing inside it is currently trying to kill anyone. Staff eat lunch out there, and it's been described as quite pleasant. Your day might start with an anomalous specimen intake, detour into an unscheduled incident involving something that escaped its enclosure but isn't technically dangerous, and end with your colleagues debating whether what just happened counts as a containment breach or just a Tuesday. Survival rate? 65%. Lower if something in the garden is having a bad day. Site 42. Site 42 is in Seabreeze, North Carolina, and it was originally built to contain sapient SCPs, anomalies that can hold a conversation, understand their situation, and, unlike most things in Foundation containment, actively object to it on principle. That's the core challenge at Site 42. You're not dealing with objects or entities that respond to physical containment protocols alone. You're dealing with people, or things close enough to people that the distinction gets uncomfortable quickly. Containment here is as much about negotiation, communication, and carefully managed relationships as it is about locked doors and security checkpoints. What changed Site 42's entire character was the public reveal of the Foundation. When the Foundation's existence became known to civilians, Site 42 was suddenly able to expand. And it did, growing to the size of a small town. No more secrecy meant more space, more resources, and more capacity. The catch was immediate and ongoing. The civilian population now knew the facility was there, which meant public relations became an actual department with actual problems. Locals had questions, protesters had signs, local journalists had press requests that all got denied in extremely formal language. Managing community perception, while also managing sapient anomalies who are aware of everything happening outside their containment rooms, turned out to be its own particular kind of headache. On any given day, you might spend your morning in a scheduled interview with a contained anomaly who has read the news and has thoughts about it, and your afternoon fielding complaints from a local counselor who also has thoughts about it. The problems are just coming from both directions now. Survival rate? 68%. Higher if your negotiation skills are genuinely good. All right, that's the tour. 8 sites, 0 transfers approved. Let me know in the comments which one you'd actually work at. Subscribe if you made it through without filing an incident report, or don't. Site 43 will process whatever's left of you either way.